In the heart of a bustling city named Viridia, there was an event that captured everyone's imagination. It was called the Golden Gauntlet. This was not just any game. It was a citywide spectacle held once every year. The streets would be filled with colorful banners, and the air would buzz with excitement for weeks before it began. Children and adults alike dreamed of participating. The competition was a test of strength, agility, and clever thinking. It involved a series of difficult challenges, from climbing high walls to solving complex puzzles under pressure. The entire city would gather in the grand arena to watch the contestants prove their mettle. The prize for winning the Golden Gauntlet was legendary. It was a large sum of money, enough to change a person's life completely. The winner would also receive a golden trophy shaped like a gauntlet, a symbol of ultimate victory and honor in Viridia. This prize was more than just wealth. It was a beacon of hope for many families struggling to make ends meet. It represented a chance for a new beginning, a way to pay off debts, secure a home, or provide a better future for loved ones. For this reason, the Golden Gauntlet was more than a game. It was the city's biggest dream. The game was run by a group of wealthy owners. They were powerful figures in Viridia, known for their sharp suits and even sharper words. They saw the Golden Gauntlet not just as a tradition, but as a business. They wanted champions who looked the part, strong, athletic, and confident. They believed the image of the winner reflected on the prestige of their competition. Every year, they would stand on a high platform, observing the hopefuls who lined up for a chance to compete. Their judgment was quick and often harsh, as they selected only those they deemed worthy of the city's grand stage. This year, the buzz around the Golden Gauntlet was louder than ever. The prize money had been increased, drawing even more hopefuls from every corner of Viridia. The newspapers were filled with stories of past champions and predictions for the new one. Everyone had an opinion on who would win. They talked about the fastest runners and the strongest climbers. They discussed returning contestants who had come close to victory in previous years. In this city of high expectations and dazzling lights, one young boy held a quiet hope in his heart, a hope that was bigger than any obstacle he could imagine. His name was Leo. He was a kind young boy with a gentle heart and a smile that rarely left his face, even when things were tough. Leo was overweight, and his clothes often felt a little too tight. Some people in his neighborhood would whisper as he walked by, and kids his age would sometimes call him names. But Leo tried not to let it bother him. He knew that what was on the inside mattered more. He lived with his mother and younger sister in a small apartment on the quieter side of Viridia, far from the grand arena and the wealthy districts. Leo's family was his whole world. His mother worked 2 jobs just to put food on the table and pay the rent. She was always tired, but she always had a warm hug for Leo and his sister. He saw the worry in her eyes when bills arrived, and he wished he could do something to help. His little sister dreamed of taking dance lessons, but they could not afford them. Leo's biggest wish was not for new toys or fancy clothes for himself. It was to see his mother rest and his sister dance. The Golden Gauntlet's prize money seemed like the only answer to his family's problems. He was not a boy who sought fame or glory. The idea of his face being on posters or people cheering his name did not appeal to him. He was humble and quiet. He just wanted a chance to provide for the people he loved most. He believed that if he could just get a chance to compete, his determination would see him through. He had a strong spirit, and he knew he could push himself harder than anyone. He believed that the heart of a champion was more important than the shape of their body. His motivation was pure and simple. It was love for his family. Every evening, Leo would look out his small window towards the glowing lights of the city center. He could almost hear the roar of the crowd at the Golden Gauntlet arena. He would imagine himself running the course, overcoming the obstacles, and reaching the finish line. He would picture the look of joy on his mother's face and the happy twirl of his sister in her first dance class. This dream was his secret fuel. It gave him the courage to believe that even a boy like him, a boy who was often overlooked, could achieve something extraordinary for the ones he cherished. The day for the Golden Gauntlet sign-ups arrived. Leo woke up early, his heart pounding with a mix of hope and nervousness. He put on his cleanest shirt and made his way to the grand arena. The line was long, filled with athletic-looking men and women who were stretching and jogging in place. Leo felt small and out of place among them. He held his head high and waited patiently for his turn, clutching a simple application form in his hand. He rehearsed in his mind what he would say, how he would convince them to give him a chance to prove his worth. When he finally reached the front of the line, he stood before the owners. They sat behind a long, polished table, looking down at him with cold, uninterested eyes. One of the owners, a man with a stern face, took Leo's form without even looking at him. He glanced at Leo's round figure, and a small, cruel smile appeared on his lips. He nudged the owner next to him, and they both chuckled softly. "The Golden Gauntlet is a competition for athletes, son," the man said, his voice dripping with mockery. "Not a pie-eating contest." The other owners joined in the laughter. Their words hit Leo like stones. "You would barely make it past the starting line," another one scoffed. "Go home, boy. This is not the place for you." They tossed his application form into a trash bin without a second thought. Leo stood there, frozen. The crowd of other hopefuls behind him began to snicker. He felt his face turn red with shame and sadness. He wanted to say something, to tell them about his family and his determination, but the words were stuck in his throat. His dream was being crushed right in front of him. With tears welling up in his eyes, Leo turned and walked away. The laughter of the owners and the whispers of the crowd followed him as he left the arena. The journey home felt much longer than the one he had taken that morning. The city lights, which once seemed so full of promise, now looked cold and distant. He felt a deep sadness, a heavy weight in his chest that was far heavier than his body. They had not seen his heart. They had not seen his spirit. They had only seen his size and decided he was not good enough. When Leo got back to his small apartment, he went straight to his room. He did not want his mother or sister to see the tears streaming down his face. He sat on his bed and looked at his reflection in the small, cracked mirror on his wall. He saw the boy the owners had laughed at. He felt the sting of their words all over again. For a moment, he felt completely defeated. The sadness was overwhelming, and he wanted to give up on his dream forever. He thought that maybe they were right. Maybe he was not meant for greatness. The weight of their judgment felt impossible to overcome. But then, something inside him shifted. As he wiped away his tears, the sadness began to turn into something else. It turned into a fire. He thought of his mother's tired hands and his sister's wish to dance. He thought about their love and how much they believed in him. He could not let them down. He could not let those cruel men decide his future. He stood up and looked at his reflection again, but this time, he saw something different. He saw a flicker of defiance in his eyes. He saw a boy who was hurt, but not broken. He made a silent vow to himself, right there in his room. "I will change," he whispered to the boy in the mirror. "I will come back. I will show them all." It was a promise born from pain, but it was the strongest promise he had ever made. He decided he would spend the next year transforming himself, not for the owners, not for the people who laughed, but for himself and for his family. He would become so strong and so fit that no one would ever be able to judge him by his appearance again. His journey would begin tomorrow. That night, Leo did not dream of winning the Golden Gauntlet. He dreamed of the hard work ahead. He imagined himself running every morning as the sun rose. He pictured himself lifting weights, climbing, and pushing his body to its limits. He knew it would be the hardest year of his life. There would be pain, sweat, and moments when he would want to quit. But the memory of the owner's laughter would be his fuel. The thought of his family's future would be his strength. This was no longer just a dream. It was a mission. Before dawn, Leo was up. His transformation had begun. He started jogging, each step burning and difficult, but he kept going. Leo remembered his promise and pushed through, thinking of his mother's smile. Each day, he ran farther. Soon, the stares of strangers faded away. He trained hard and changed his diet, choosing healthy foods over junk. It was tough to resist temptation, but he stayed focused on his goal. Over time, his body changed. Fat melted away, muscle appeared. He trained anywhere, in any weather, growing stronger and faster. Leo was no longer the same. The biggest change was inside. His confidence soared. Now, he saw a warrior in the mirror. The next golden gauntlet was coming, and Leo was ready. A year had passed. Today was the day. Leo, now a lean and powerful young man, stood in the line for the Golden Gauntlet sign-ups once again. He was unrecognizable. His face was chiseled, his posture was confident, and his eyes held a calm intensity. He wore a simple hooded sweatshirt that concealed his features. He watched as the same owners sat at their table, dismissing hopefuls with the same arrogant air as before. When it was his turn, he stepped forward and handed them his application. He had used a different name, Alex, to avoid any recognition from his past attempt. The head owner glanced at his strong physique and nodded with approval. "You look like you have what it takes," he said, stamping the form with a seal of acceptance. He handed it back to Leo without a second glance. Leo simply nodded, took his form, and walked away. There was no triumphant feeling, only a quiet resolve. The first part of his mission was complete. He was in the game. Now, the real work began. He knew the challenges would be difficult, but he had spent an entire year preparing for this day. He was more than ready to face whatever they threw at him. The Golden Gauntlet began with a roar from the massive crowd. The first challenge was a towering wall known as the Ascent. Many strong contestants struggled, but Leo moved with a grace and speed that surprised everyone. He found handholds and footholds with ease, pulling himself up and over the top in record time. He flowed through the next obstacles, a tricky maze, a balance beam over water, and a test of pure strength with the same focused energy. The announcers, who had not even mentioned his name at the start, began to take notice of the mysterious newcomer in the hood. The final challenge was a brutal race through an obstacle course known as the Labyrinth. Only a few contestants were left, and Leo was one of them. He was neck and neck with last year's runner-up, a famous athlete favored to win. The crowd was on its feet, cheering wildly. In the final stretch, Leo dug deep. He thought of his mother, his sister, and the promise he had made to himself. He pushed past his exhaustion and sprinted towards the finish line, crossing it just a second before his rival. The arena erupted. The unknown underdog, Alex, had won the Golden Gauntlet. As the cheers echoed through the grand arena, the owners came down to the center stage to present the trophy. They smiled broadly, eager to crown the powerful new champion they had chosen. The head owner stood next to Leo, holding the Golden Gauntlet trophy and a microphone. "Congratulations, Alex," he boomingly announced to the crowd. "A truly magnificent performance. Viridia has a new champion." He then handed the microphone to Leo, expecting a few words of thanks. The entire city waited to hear from the mysterious winner who had captivated them all. Leo took the microphone, his hand steady. He slowly reached up and pulled back his hood, revealing his face to the entire stadium. A murmur went through the crowd. He looked directly at the owners, whose smiles immediately vanished. A flicker of confusion, then dawning recognition, crossed their faces. "My name is not Alex," Leo said, his voice clear and strong, amplified throughout the arena. "My name is Leo, and we have met before." He paused, letting his words sink in. The owners stared at him, their faces pale with shock. They remembered. "1 year ago, I stood right here," Leo continued, his voice filled with emotion, but free of anger. "I stood here as a boy who wanted nothing more than a chance to help his family. But you did not see a boy with a dream. You saw a boy who was overweight, and you laughed at me. You told me to go home. You threw my application in the trash." He then turned to the crowd. "Your words hurt me, but I want to thank you. You gave me something I did not have. You gave me the fire to change my life. You taught me that I should never let others define what I am capable of, he declared, his voice ringing with conviction. This past year, I worked harder than I ever thought possible. I did it not to prove you wrong, but to prove myself right. I did it for my family. He held up the golden trophy. This is not just a prize. This is a symbol of what is possible when you refuse to give up. It is proof that the strength of your heart is more important than the shape of your body. The arena was completely silent, every person hanging on his every word. The silence in the arena was broken by a single person clapping, then another and another, until the entire stadium erupted in thunderous applause. It was a different kind of cheer than before. It was not just for the winner of a game, it was for the boy who had shown them the true meaning of strength. The crowd was no longer cheering for Alex, the mysterious champion. They were cheering for Leo, the boy who had turned rejection into his greatest motivation. They were inspired by his honesty, his hard work, and his incredible journey of transformation. The owners stood frozen on the stage, their faces a mixture of shame and disbelief. The head owner, who had mocked Leo so cruelly, looked down at the ground, unable to meet the boy's gaze. The entire city had heard Leo's story, and now they were looking at the owners with disappointment. In that moment, they understood their mistake. They had judged a book by its cover, and they had been profoundly wrong. They had valued appearance over spirit, and Leo's victory was a powerful lesson for them and for everyone watching. With the eyes of the city upon him, the head owner slowly walked over to Leo. He took the microphone, and his voice was quiet and humbled. "Leo," he began, his voice cracking slightly. We are deeply sorry. We were wrong. Your victory today has taught us a valuable lesson. It has taught us about courage, about determination, and about the human spirit. You have shown us what a true champion looks like." He then turned to the other owners and the crowd. "We promise to change. From now on, the Golden Gauntlet will be open to all who have the heart to compete, regardless of their appearance." The crowd applauded again, this time for the owner's apology. It felt like a new beginning for the city and for the Golden Gauntlet. Leo's story had changed more than just his own life. It had changed the very heart of the competition. He had not only won the game, but he had also won the respect and admiration of an entire city. People in the stands were wiping away tears, moved by the powerful display of forgiveness and redemption. They knew they had witnessed something special, a moment that would be told and retold in Viridia for many years to come. Leo left the arena not as a celebrity, but as a son and a brother with a way to help his family. He walked back to his small apartment, the heavy golden trophy in one hand and the prize money securely in his pocket. When he opened the door, his mother and sister were waiting. They had watched the entire event on their small television, their eyes wide with disbelief and pride. As soon as they saw him, they rushed to embrace him in a tearful hug. This was the real victory. This was the moment he had trained for all year. With the prize money, everything changed for Leo's family. His mother was able to quit her second job. For the first time in years, the constant look of worry on her face was replaced with one of peace and happiness. She had time to rest, to laugh, and to simply be with her children. Leo's sister was enrolled in the best dance school in the city. Her joyful dancing filled their small apartment with life and music. Seeing his family happy was a prize far greater than any trophy or amount of money. It was the fulfillment of his deepest wish. Leo's story became a legend in Viridia. He became a symbol of hope for anyone who had ever felt underestimated or overlooked. He showed everyone that your circumstances do not have to define your future. He proved that with hard work, dedication, and a powerful reason to fight, anyone can achieve the impossible. He did not let the fame change him. He remained the same humble and kind person he had always been, always ready to lend a hand to others who were struggling, just as he once had. In the end, Leo's transformation was about more than just becoming fit and winning a game. It was about discovering the incredible strength that lies within each of us. It was about turning pain into purpose and doubt into determination. His journey from an overweight, underestimated boy to a celebrated champion taught his city and the world a timeless lesson. It taught them that true success is not measured by what others think of you, but by the effort you put in and the love that drives you forward. Hard work can truly change everything.
Save the video and subscribe The Art of Life for the daily motivation.